With many recent problems involving immigration policies are in need of revision. Immigration policy affects the entire nation ideologically, politically, and economically. Along with immigration, the process of naturalization takes too long, and there are too many obstacles in the way of becoming a U.S. citizen today.
The first step for someone trying to acquire citizenship in the U.S. is to immigrate into the U.S. Immigrants first run into problems here, as they are often deported soon after because of legislation which calls for this. One example of this is Title 42.
What Title 42 did, Title 42 was the health order put in effect by the Trump administration in April of 2020 during the height of the pandemic, right after those restrictions put in place. And Title 42 created these perverse incentives where what would happen is they would apprehend an illegal immigrant crossing the border and they put them back over the border in Mexico immediately in the same day. And what that created was a perverse incentive amongst the illegal immigrants so that they could try again and again and again. Whereas earlier, prior to Title 42, immigrants would be in detention facilities, they would sometimes go through the court system, there would be actual punishments for them. But instead, they push them back over the border so they can try multiple times.
So, not only does some legislation make immigration more difficult, but it also does very little to deter immigrants from coming into the U.S.
If an immigrant does happen to enter the U.S., they now become an undocumented person. This means that they can apply for naturalization, which is the process of a non-citizen becoming a citizen, but there is no guarantee that they will be naturalized soon. While a person is undocumented, they must meet certain requirements in order to apply for naturalization. This means that many undocumented people could be waiting for an approval of naturalization for long periods of time.
Because there are about 11 million or more undocumented people in the United States, across the country. We think in Mississippi, we may have about 100,000 undocumented people. There are a lot of people who don't have any path to become documented, because in order to get permanent residence, you have to have a certain status, like you have to apply for asylum, or you have to apply through a family member, or you have to apply through a job. And there's some people that are here that are undocumented who cannot apply any of those ways.
The federal government's current policy is to step up its enforcement-only strategy without creating a path to legalization for the millions of undocumented immigrants currently living in the country, as said by the Cato Institute. This explains that the federal government has made entering the U.S. much harder to deter immigrants while not creating an easier path for undocumented immigrants in the U.S. who are waiting to become citizens. With past examples like Title 42, they have shown that rather than deterring immigrants from entering the country, they instead encourage immigrants to repeatedly try to enter.
While these problems have been made apparent in recent years, they warrant good reason to be changed, as they affect the rest of the country. One way that a reform of immigration affects the country is through politics. Congress has been in a gridlock debating changes in immigration in recent years, and they could be instead using this time for other important pieces of legislation.
Another way that immigration and its policies affect the rest of the country is ideologically. America is seen as the land of opportunity by many other countries, and we uphold this image by providing access of America to immigrants. However, when the process of immigration is too tedious or difficult, it discourages others from immigrating here. As said by the Center for American Progress, America is a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws, and it needs a system that reflects that reality, meaning that America can preserve its ideology as a land of hope and opportunity without compromising the law by providing a better constructed route for those looking to attain citizenship.
One way that immigration affects the U.S. is economically. DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is an immigration policy that protects children who came into the U.S. when they were younger from deportation. DACA has also proven economically successful.
DACA recipients contribute $1.4 billion in federal taxes alone every year, another $1.7 in state taxes. We generate $42 billion in GDP every year, while the cost of removing DACA recipients from this country alone would be $10 billion.
Some argue that when immigrants come to America, they can take jobs from American citizens for a lower pay, hurting the economy. Because of this idea, some also believe that we should increase regulation of the border to limit the number of immigrants coming into the country. However, immigration is shown to only have a slight impact on low-skilled natives' wages, and that the impact of high-skilled immigrants partially offsets this. Title 42 also showed that previous attempts to deport a larger number of immigrants didn't deter them, but instead encouraged immigrants to continue to attempt to cross the border.
Thus, immigration policy reform is needed, as easier access to citizenship has proven economically beneficial, it would reduce time spent debating in Congress as they would come to a conclusion, and it would continue to portray the U.S. as a land of opportunity to all those seeking citizenship in America.